critique of Crescen's hypothesis. As we are talking about input, and we talked about child-directed speech, the input of foreigner talk, and we also talked about other inputs. Because all of this discussion has been inspired by Crescen's input hypothesis, we also need to see what are the shortcomings of this hypothesis so that we can keep in mind these when looking at the results of different studies. Now, the problem is that this hypothesis has been hardly tested empirically. So, although it has inspired research related to input, but people have not quite adhered to all the claims made by the input hypothesis, and this is because it is not easily testable. The concept of understanding and noticing a gap, which seems to make a lot of sense, actually have not been clearly operationalized, have not been clearly stated, nor have they been consistently present in the arguments that Crescen has placed to describe or to present his input hypothesis. It is also not clear how the learner's present state of knowledge is to be characterized. For instance, if I am to learn, or if you are to learn German, what is that stage I that I must have to enter a situation in which the German input coming to me is comprehensible to me? So what is the minimum level of language that I must have to access the plus I or a higher input? And then the question is also whether if this I plus 1 formula, does it apply to all aspects of language? Are we talking about language holistically, or are we talking about certain aspects of the language? Because there are several things that the children, or several strings of argument that the children actually pick up just like that and repeat them. It is also not clear that the processes whereby language in social context is analyzed. So the role of the social context in the learning of the language is also not very clear. It is also not clear how the new elements are identified by the learners and then processed by language acquisition device. Because for Crescen, it almost happens subconsciously. So if we really follow Crescen's idea or the hypothesis, this means leads us towards this immersion classrooms. As you would know, immersion classrooms are classrooms in which the child is exposed to the language, the second language the child is to learn, and little attempt is made to actually teach the language as such, but the child is just given lots of input. However, I would say this would not even be exactly the immersion situation, but if you would remember communicative language teaching emphasis at a specific period in your teaching, this was all about giving comprehensible input to the children without actually teaching them abstract grammar. So it has inspired a lot of teaching, a lot of research. However, the hypothesis remains a hypothesis, and it is not a theoretical framework that explains the learning process.